it didn't bend, but I also wanted to make sure that I can move my actual arrow in and out so that I can be a little bit more consistent, because at the end of the day, you show up to an archery shop and they mess up, they have a little bit more glue on your fletchings, so it doesn't look exactly the way you want it, or they cut one a little bit shorter than the other. It's like, are you gonna be the guy? Are you gonna be the guy that says, hey, I need you to cut another arrow, this one isn't gonna cut it, this one has a little bit too much glue? The tool you need to build arrows, unless you're gonna shoot full shaft arrows, which honestly I end up doing because of my 31.5-inch draw, which might be a 32-inch draw. I don't know, figuring that stuff out one day at a time. But it's the arrow saw. So with the arrow saw, do you have to go and spend a crap ton of money to make that happen? No, I actually don't believe you do. I think a lot of people think that when you get into the sport, you have to go full tilt, or you just go and rely on other people to do your work. I think it is a beautiful thing, and I appreciate that guy over at Podium Archery named MFJJ, Josh. Do I know him? Not one bit. I know his YouTube stuff. But I do know that I've learned a lot with watching his videos. There's a guy out in Texas, watched a good bit of his videos. I watched the Shoot Straight guy, Precision is Decision. Like, there's a crap ton of YouTube that I ended up indulging in to try to figure out a baseline of what all of this looks like. But then I found some guys like Average Jack Archery that also made it a little bit more attainable when he's showing a lot of the DIY stuff. He's not really showing a lot of that now. He owns his own shop. I'm really excited for a guy that I don't know. So for whatever that's worth, keep it up, my guy. But when it comes down to building and making your own stuff, you don't have to start here. Like, this right here is the DeCut. I believe it's actually the pro version, if that's the way they title it. But with that, I'm able to easily adjust all of the things I need to get my arrows. I actually just got rid of their baby version. I bought the other one used and sold it, used obviously, and made all of my money back when I actually decided to sell it. But with that, the benefit of having an arrow saw is when you start doing your own work, you don't have to spend an hour in a day trying to get out to an archery shop, have them build them for you, and then you go and shoot 3 of them through themselves, and then you're like, ah, well, I got to throw that arrow away. One thing that I actually end up doing, I think I've said this in another video, but with my long draw, I end up being about like, I think I end up having a few inches over when I have my final cut. So I shoot them full shaft at first. Then once I get a bundle of them, whether it be 6 or 8 of them, then I will cut the rest of that dozen down with little nicks and ticks or whatever throughout multiple years. I actually just did them to my victory. So it actually took 2 years to do that to my Rip TKOs. But I just trim them down. I cut them off, and they're brand new arrows because of the little mushrooming that might happen, because I run the hit insert with just whatever the broadhead is. I don't like an outsert on the system. I don't like what it does to my bags and my targets, because I shoot a crap ton, so I'd rather let my targets last a little bit longer and get a little bit dinging on my arrows rather than having to spend a crap ton on materials and all of that, trying to build my own targets as well as some of the targets that I've bought in the past. But I kind of jumped into showing you guys the big boy. This is not what you have to start with. Let me zoom out and let me show you what I started with. So this is it. I think I will never get rid of this just for the memories of it. I already got rid of my wooden draw board. I'm planning on making a video about that as well as my wooden bow press. Now I did have to get rid of that. That was a failed attempt. But all of that being said, there's plenty of DIY tricks that you can either do with wood or with welding. If you have a cheap little Harbor Freight welder and you're willing to attempt to get some things to stick together. I was fortunate to work at a school where I was taught how to weld. That's a whole nother topic though. I originally tried to use the Dremel freehand and just draw on my arrows where I wanted to cut so that all of them could be consistent. I actually still have some of those arrows. They were my gold tip Hunter 300 spine that I was shooting out of my DXT. But beyond the points, whole nother topic. This right here does not take an arm and a leg to make. Now I got this Dremel for like $3 or something from like a yard sale. I got these little like metal brackets off of like some old like framing in my house that I literally like kind of snipped off and wrapped around and drilled right through. As you guys could see how rough that actually is. It's really it's just getting the job done at this point. So when it comes down to being able to build your own arrows and do your own stuff, now I would encourage you to get some type of fletching jig. There's a lot out there. Bitzenberger, they actually, Boning just came out with a new tower jig that's pretty easy. You have the Veinmaster Pro if you want to go super bougie. You have the Easy Fletch. The list is endless. There's a crap ton out there. I'm not here to tell you which one you need to actually get. But when it comes down to building and doing your own stuff, I'm a big fan of it. One, because you get to do it exactly the way you want. Even if you're not super repeatable at the beginning, it's kind of worth it though. With the time saved to me and knowing that I'm going to be in the sport for a long time, being able to slowly invest into the tools and the things that I actually want was something that I always am a fan of. And being able to do my own work and not having to drive an hour in a day to wait for somebody to build my arrows and then being able to shoot them later on, then turns out he cut them a little bit too short, and now am I the douchebag for saying that, hey, these are a little too short, can you guys make me some new arrows? Or, hey, these fletchings I'm not really feeling, I don't know what made y'all do this, but this is not, there's a ton of glue showing. At least if there's an issue and something happens that is wrong with the job, I can point at myself and say, William, you messed up. That's your fault. The other thing that I did when it came down to the actual build is started with the middle support so that when I was pushing on the arrow, it didn't bend. But I also wanted to make sure that I can move my actual arrow in and out so that I can be a little bit more consistent. I did put a measuring tape on that. Was it definitely needed? No, definitely not needed. But for me, it gave me a presence of mind to say, well, at least I'm being consistent. Let's say it got bumped or I dropped it or whatever, I can put it back to where it was before. Was I using a squaring jig? No, I was using the little Easton little nub thing that they give you. It looks almost like a little nipple if I'm honest. But what that does is squares it off, just tries to drive. I tried to make a jig to kind of keep that as square as it could be. I don't think it really worked, so I just ended up squaring it off and dabbing it and just praying for the best. But at the end of the day, you don't have to have a crap ton of money to get into the sport and take ownership of your own building. But the reason why I'm a big fan of it is one, because there's plenty of information out there, whether you look at, as I said, Average Jack Archery with some of his older DIY stuff, or even some of the newer stuff when you look at the MFJJs of the world, or the Shoot Straight guy, I can't remember his name, where precision is a decision. All these archers that have been doing it for a while, not saying that they know all the answers, but at least they can give you a ballpark of how they do it, and then you can build your framework up around the way that they're doing it. To me, that's the way I want to think about it. That's the way I want to build what I do, because at the end of the day, I want to take ownership of what I'm doing. And so build your arrows. I think it's the easiest, fun way to start doing stuff and tinkering with your bow before you start getting a bow press and really diving headfirst into the sport. I promise you it's fun. Maybe a little bit of a headache every once in a while, but I think it's worth it at the end of the day, just knowing that you did it. Because at the end of the day, you show up to an archery shop and they mess up, they have a little bit more glue on your fletchings, it doesn't look exactly the way you want it, or they cut one a little bit shorter than the other. It's like, are you gonna be the guy? Are you gonna be the guy that says, hey, I need you to cut another arrow, this one isn't gonna cut it, this one has a little bit too much glue? Or are you gonna be the cool guy that just says, man, no, it's all good, don't worry about it, I love it anyways? To me, both of those guys I struggle to be, because I want it to be exactly where I want it to be, but I also don't want to be the douchebag that steps into the showroom and says like, no, you need to give me this. And so I just tried to take ownership in the areas that I could. Building arrows was one of them. So I buy my shafts from my guy over at Benton's, my guy Robbie. Then I go and do all the surgery I need to do on them when I get home, because that's what I get to do. That's what I want to do. And so it's about learning. And I think it's about messing up and trying again and messing up and trying again. And so archery is always trial and error in my eyes, and trying to ask as many questions as we can, but also not being afraid to kind of find our own answers along the way. So get out there, make some mistakes, have fun while trying to do it, and not gonna act like anybody has all the answers, because it's a black box. Everybody's trying to figure it out, trying to figure out why when this input goes in, this one comes out. Everybody's trying to figure it out. So just be the best that you can be, and remember, be better one day at a time. Peace.